this is a test. It may or may not work, and it wasn't scheduled because I didn't know if it would work. And if I scheduled it and it didn't work, I'd look a bit silly. So I've got one bar of internet where I'm recording this from on the roof of the shower block, because the problem has been in the shower block, trying not to annoy everyone. And however I'm trying recently not to annoy everybody, I appear to just be annoying everybody. So the last few days since the last shit vlog, I was painting. That's nearly done now. I've probably got a day left of painting. But the boat's looking a lot better than it did. I'm probably looking alright enough that it could do some boat trips. That. I do still have a few paint brushes, and I think I've probably got enough old paint that I can just about get that done. So yeah, fingers crossed in the next few days we'll get that done. We was on a bit of a roll with it, and then we caused some big problems, not with the port, but with people visiting the port. Obviously it's summer now, it's July. I've only ever been here in the winter, and you know, it's like a little, what's the word, paper boat during the winter. Like, you never really worry about whether my boat's locked or with it. Summer has come and it has turned into an absolute nightmare over there. So I'll flip the camera around, and I don't know how well you can see, but on the edge of the jetty there, you probably can't see this, but my boat is really the closest boat to the jetty. That jetty, the other day when this happened, there were people on and off it. It's private, people aren't meant to be on it, but people were running up and down the jetty, flips into the water, all the rest of it. And yeah, you don't mind people having fun. But then on the other side, you have some cliffs people are jumping off. So I sound really, really grumpy, but the noise alone, when you're trying to get stuff done, it's really hot, and then it's just screaming, shouting, music, all the rest of it, normal stuff. It's summer, we know that's going to happen. What then isn't alright is then when people turn up. The guy from the captainry had on once and told off a bunch of, I was saying kids, but we're saying kids lightly, because they're not like 10 to 15-year-olds. We're talking like 18 to 25-year-olds. It's really hard to tell anyone is anymore because of how they're acting. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I was perfect when I was 18, 19, 20, but I wouldn't dream of doing some of the things that you see people doing. Anyway, they're jumping in and on and off some of the power boats that are docked up over there. And for ages I didn't say out, just hoping someone else would say something. And then they started jumping in one of the annex tender, I call it a dinghy, that was right next to the steps. And they're not just like lightly getting in and out of it. And the other day I'd caught someone in mine, and I'd hope if someone was jumping in and out of mine, someone would tell them to stop. Terrible idea. It caused carnage. So because I told them to stop, I got a bit of lip back from them all. They then continued anyway, I was doing. I then thought, you know what, I can't get off the boat now, can I? I've just aggravated the situation. If I was to now jump off the boat, well, the first thing I'm going to go do is get on my boat, which I'd just painted the deck and had wet paint on. So I just had to wait the afternoon. You know, I'm outside. They're not that far. They're probably as far as this wall away from me. Just like, yeah, you can imagine. Anyway, they seemed to go, and I thought that was the end of the problem. And then I packed my ready to get off the boat to go to the shop, and coming down the cliff, and ideally I'd record, and when this episode comes out, it'll be a bit more in depth, but coming down the cliff, a bunch of, it started off with 3 of them. I'd estimate age of 18 to 20. Then a bunch of olders, maybe the best way I can describe it. And the best way of putting this is, if I was to imagine before the video, like, I'm looking, one of them is launching rocks off the side of the cliff at the boats on the mooring buoys. I'm like, what's going on there? I didn't know, obviously, the other people were still linked to this. They've come to the bottom, coming along the little jetty towards where my boat is, then off on the mooring buoy. There's now like 11 of them and one of them seemed to be like orchestrating it, the one that was throwing the rocks and stuff. And he comes down like shouting in French, like, which boat? They then point at my boat, at the dinghy, and then out of three that was here before, have obviously, all I can imagine, they've called someone up, someone's told us not to be in this boat, and then they've decided, forget that, forget someone telling you not to be in the boat. You know, I've said it, I'm aggressively gone out of the boat. Anyway, then absolute carnage. So then one of them goes and puts himself in the dinghy, looking straight at me. So I try again to say like, look, I know the person whose dinghy it is, like, I don't like to get broke. Just looks straight back at me, he's not moving. Then the one that seemed to orchestrate it, a couple of them went and pulled any loose rowing boats or kayaks or dinghies out of the rack. They all piled into a few of them, shouting, screaming at me directly, like circling around the boat. And I can honestly say it was a bit scary because, you know, as I say, these were all a bit older. Even if it was, you know, 18-year-olds, I'm looking around thinking, maybe them three, but, you know, 11 of them, what am I going to do? And like, they obviously don't care for what they should or shouldn't be doing. And I don't know if it would have effed them trying to get on my boat, but someone to come launching rocks down the thing, they obviously aren't coming for a friendly chat about it. And anyway, luckily the captainary boat came by, and I don't think they knew what was happening. They just saw that obviously these guys were in these boats, told them to put it back. Then they all had a massive argument. I got on the boat over to the captainary, where then I had to check from this side, looking over to see if they were on or off my boat or still trying to go over towards it. They didn't. However, you can imagine how that it can put you off being on the boat. And I can honestly say, for the last few days since, I haven't really felt that comfortable being over there, and I really just wish I had a way to get out of here now. But today is the first, yesterday as well, come back. 3 days they've been there. I haven't been on the boat while they've been there. I don't know, I feel like if I am aggravating, but also by chance I've been to the shop, come back, saw they was there, and I've had to start putting my dinghy on this side, but when it's blowing quite strong, it's not so easy to get back. Anyway, that's what happened with that. Yeah, just not ideal. And I think as well, I've seen a YouTube episode, sailing one, where there's a girl and someone had got on to use a paddle board, so you've probably seen it. And yeah, I always feel like because I'm 6'4", I'm not allowed to be a bit worried in that situation. But yeah, to be honest, truth, I'm stood around thinking, what have I got on the boat if they start trying to get on? You know, if they're getting on at the back and it's just a group of three, probably stop them getting on for so long. But if they start coming in a few different boats on a few different angles, and that might never have happened, don't know, I'm not trying to make a dramatic situation, I'm just, something I've never had while living on a boat. I've always felt really quite safe on there, and this was maybe the first time, because, you know, it's my home, and normally you might be in a situation like that and you can go and evade it, go away from it, or go home, but that's kind of in theory happening on my doorstep, and there's not a lot I could do about it. So today they've not been, so I don't know, but I do. Even when the captainary came and was shouting at the guy who was just shouting back at him, he really didn't care. And yesterday the police boat went past and they were all jumping on and off the boats and they said nothing. So yeah. And I'm on the boat and I couldn't obviously use my phone to call the captainary or anything. I have to make sure the VHF radio is plugged back in case I had to like call on the VHF, like there's loads of people trying to get on my boat. It's not something you'd think you'd hear, but it did seem like that might have been the situation the other day. I don't know if anybody's, there's some people watching, so hello. I've got to get used to doing this as a live again. I might just be talking, and as far as I know, it might tell me after the connection was bad. It's, as I say, we'll trial it like this, and if it works like this, this is how I'll do the daily updates every day, and I'll try to keep them around about the 10-minute mark. Today, obviously, I'm updating you on the last few days. So other than that, other than thinking I might be getting attacked and painting of the boat's looking a lot better. It's actually starting to look good. On the outside, today I have got the two berth lights working again. It's not a big achievement, I know, but it's one of them things where I kind of picked it off the random jobs in order to get something done. I've been on and started with the rigging to tighten that up, because there is an element of what if I need to leave sharp. The motor, I think I found a clue. I'm just trying to find where the pieces are, but I found in the boat a parts diagram, a little bag of parts, and I don't know if they already knew this was an issue and the parts are what I need. I just need to go and have a look at what the parts are, and see if maybe that's something that needs changing over. Other than that, what I'm going to try, what's been suggested, is change the oil. I think I've got enough new oil from when I changed the oil on the old boat. Change the oil. I'm not currently in a position to go buy all new filters. This one has a pre-filter, so kind of going to take that apart, and we'll look in then, not the pre-filter but the actual filter, and see what it looks like. And the oil filter, if it's really bad, I'll use the oil filter that's still alright from the old boat. I know that's not very productive, but yeah, that's what I'll have to do. And then the plan is to move them both down to the other side of Marseille, where there's a dock there, which I think I can get away with leaving the old one on while I get rid of it. Regarding that one, the rat has gone, the mouse. There'll be a bit more about that in the next episode. It's not good, but it's gone. Or they've gone. I've been back in, I've checked. There's stopped being like droppings or anything there, so I think that's solved. It does now look absolutely horrendous inside. I will show you at some point. And the whole boat, because I've taken the parts off I need and stuff, just again, that's in the upcoming episodes, actual episodes, before I started doing these vlogs. So in doing that, the boat looks a wreck. It's crazy when I go on there to think how I ever did anything on it or moved or anything like that, because it just looks like these boats where you see them listed for free and think, would I, wouldn't I? The one thing that I've thought about is the motor on it works, and I don't know if I want to give it, yeah, obviously I'm then rid of it, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to list it for like a really small price, maybe like, I don't know, even if it's 300 euros, because what I don't want, on top of everything else, is the endless messages of the people who aren't serious about taking it on as a project, but just the free boat, or the people who are going to essentially want to just take the working engine out of it and then probably not do the paperwork properly, and it's still my problem. So tomorrow I think I'm going to find the hose, wash the deck, make it look as good as I can. I've still got a few bits to take off it, but that's the plan. That's the plan with that. And the plan with my not working one, as I say, I'm gonna take out the fuel injector pump as well, like someone's mentioned, and just see, because a few people have said maybe fuel's leaking through. Then someone mentioned maybe air's leaking through, which would answer why when I cut the air intake, when I put something over it, it's not stopping it, because it should. And yeah, we know the decompression lever is not working properly. I'm really struggling with that, to find the diagram of how that goes together, but engine diagrams aren't the easiest things to be looking at. And then finally, what I've been doing is starting to work on the navigation lights. I hoped it was going to be a simple case of going and changing a light bulb, but I got to it and there were no light fittings actually behind the housing. I have found some light fittings. I had one spare anyway, and I've taken one from the other boat, so that everything we can do to make it a ready boat to go. It is a ready boat to go. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. Trying to keep busy, but it's getting to that point where, yeah, like, it's not easy. I do need to say a really, really big thank you to, as always, everybody who supports on Patreon and Coffee. And recently, Camping Cat, Ollie and John, because them donations literally what I've allowed me to survive the last week. So it really is appreciated, and it gives me, you know, a boost to keep putting videos on. So a big thank you for that. I really, really do appreciate it. But yeah, that's the end of this update, and I'll look back, see if it worked, and if so, I'll schedule tomorrow's one for a time so people know it's happening. But see you soon. The problem is, how do you turn him off?